welcome back to Sports Talk. Rocco and Casey here on the Zoom call because, like everybody else, we are keeping our distance while inside our homes. Well, now that we got the pressing part out of the way, let's get into today's show. We have two pressing questions answered today, plus the view.
And Rocco, before we start, I just want to take us back to a simpler time, a better time. Our last episode when you picked the 49ers to win the Super Bowl and not the Chiefs.
Jimmy Garoppolo let me down.
Perfect streak of yours went away. But anyway, we may not be in the studio, but the show must go on. So with that said, Alanna Morse joins the show in this week's The View.
She was a key piece in the Lady Pirates softball county champion squad last year. All-county third baseman Alanna Morse joins the show. How's it going, Alanna?
It's going fine, trying to make the best of this quarantine. Thank you for having me.
No problem. It may not be ideal times, especially, with sports being paused, but, let's just rewind a little bit back to some good times, starting with what led up to, the school's first county title last year. You were just a freshman, part of the 2018 Pirates squad, who in stunning fashion, as a 4 seed back in 2018, beat rival top seed MacArthur in straight games to reach the school's first county final appearance that year. I mean, in your opinion, do you think that series is overlooked in many ways and is kind of what shaped last year's team's toughness and mentality?
Well, that season was very important to us, and it was definitely a great accomplishment. Going up against top seed MacArthur was intimidating, and we were definitely nervous going into it. But I think when we came together as a team, we fought really hard for those wins. And I think it did shape us in the future because it showed us how successful we can be as long as we work together as a team.
And, the team eventually comes up short against Cary in a thrilling 3-game series. You guys forced a Game 3 back in that 2018 final. I mean, what did the team learn after the heartbreaking series, after clawing its way there?
Well, I think we definitely learned how the mental part of the game is just as important as the physical part, and dealing with the pressure in those intense games is very important, and ultimately it's the difference between winning and losing.
Was there any emotional during that 2018 final? Was there any emotional, aspect after the loss to Cary, after forcing a Game 3?
Yeah, definitely there was. We're such a closely bonded team, and we didn't really want the season to end because we just loved each other so much, and I think it was definitely hard after that because we didn't want it to be over.
And you guys returned a lot, during the next season. You guys returned a bulk of the starting squad, including some exciting underclassmen, including yourself, in 2019. You start to the season was phenomenal. Pure dominance early on was definitely gave way for you guys to have the 1 seed where you flew by Herricks and Clark and then Seaford in the semis. I mean, now here you guys are, again, back in the county final. You guys were the 1 seed heading and had the rest of the county, looking to dethrone you. Do you guys feel like there was any pressure to make it out with the title that season?
Absolutely. I think there was pressure. It was very important for us to be successful for not only our teammates, but for Mepham. We wanted to bring home a win. And we were so close the year before, and we really wanted to take it to the next level and bring it home the next time.
Was there any feeling before you entered that last year's county final that if you didn't get it done, there might not be another chance that the window would be closing, do you think?
Yeah, I think we definitely had a lot of emotions going into that game. We really worked together to overcome those feelings, and we really leaned on each other in the end, and that's how we got through it.
And a momentous occasion it was for you guys. I mean, you had no problem sending division home packing, outscoring them 16-4 dominantly in those 2 final games. So clearly the pressure didn't get to you guys at all. You guys, basically shut the door on them. Many Lady Pirate teams, starting way back in the 90s, had a couple of semifinal appearances, couldn't break through. Then, mid-2000s, early 2010s, a couple of great stars with a catcher and a pitcher. Few playoff runs, couldn't break through. What made 2019 feel like the year the Lady Pirates could finally get it done and finally bring it home?
Yes, well, our coach and our whole team, we've really focused on having that family bond. We would do many things throughout the entire season to strengthen the feelings between each other. And I think that's ultimately what got us through with our close bond. And we really just wanted to do it for each other since we had such a strong love for each other as a family, really.
And with current circumstances, in this ongoing, as you know, in this ongoing worldwide crisis right now, there's currently a good chance that the 2020 spring season will be called off. What do you have to? I mean, what do you have to say to your teammates, especially your seniors, who won't be able to make one last memorable run?
Well, I think that we all have to just focus on the memories that we have together and always remember our strong bond that we have. It's really disappointing if the season can't happen or we can't play together one last time. But I think if we just focus on our bond and like continue it even with the years coming without the seniors, that'll be great for us.
And what will always be the memory? I mean, for you and your senior class heading out.
I think winning those county finals on that Hofstra field last year was just so important to us. And I get chills when I think about it every time because it was just so exciting and it was just great for us to experience that together.
And for you personally, how do you feel about being, I mean, you're just a sophomore right now, but last year you were a freshman who won a county championship. It was the first time in school history, a lot of hype, a lot of buildup. And now you see that, 2019 up on the rafters in the gym. I mean, what does that mean to you?
It means so much to me, like just like bringing home a win for Mepham and seeing how we come together and be a part of something bigger than ourselves is just amazing for me, and it's so exciting.
All right, well, Alanna, I mean, thank you so much, for doing this. We really appreciate you taking the time, to stop by in the show, and we wish you all the best of luck going forward. And thanks again, appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Rocco, Alanna brought up a lot of good points about her team, the defending county champs. How do you think that they would have played out this year?
Well, Casey, I mean, I don't think you can even talk about the spring sports season without, mentioning the defending county champ varsity softball team. I think people will be lying to themselves if they didn't think this team had a chance to repeat as champs, possibly even go further, winning an LIC and making it to the state's final. They were returning most of their pitching staff that shut down opponents' offenses all of last year. Need I remind everyone of the daunting total 3.29 ERA that rotation led up against opposing offenses? The team got a lot of contributions last year from the whole squad. But, I mean, this year I was more focused on the individual aspect as well as some question marks. The catcher position was also a red flag for me, having lost all-county catcher Jesse Lanzacera, who was great at calling games and shutting down, the base pass and, calling games. Finally, one big thing I was looking for was the dynamic sister duo in Brianna and Alanna Morse. Both have commitments to D1 Hofstra and are a part of one of the best infield cores in all of Nassau. Brianna was first team All-State at Long Island as a junior last year, hit 623 with 17 RBIs during the regular season, 563 and 5 RBIs in the postseason. I think a big thing to see was if Alanna could improve so much so that she would become a sophomore All-Long Island member and possibly even an all-state game changer to this dangerous team like her sister. In regards to the spring sports season, that's what I was looking forward to. But, I mean, Casey, let me hear what was yours. Let me hear it.
But for me, we also got to look at baseball, the other side of the sport. Last year, the team, you could attest to this, Rocco, played a lot of tough games. They ended up winning most of their games, went 14-9 during the season. And the big thing there, they had both winning records on the road and at home. Obviously, you got to love that. Their pitching was key, led by Tyler O'Neill and among others. All of them going to be back this year. And they gave up only 98 runs the entire year last year. That's very good. They scored a lot more, 42 to be exact, runs than they gave up. And you always got to remember Kenny Frankie's, Billy Kender, Matt Haggai, all guys in the infield that are doing great defensively and offensively. Matt Haggai, one of the centers of the lineup, young talent also on the way. They have a lot of talent that's either on the varsity level or in JV waiting to come up. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how all those guys are developed into the Mepham baseball.
Again, you brought up a lot of great points, and, you can't go wrong with baseball. You really can't. Well, Casey, quarantine, has been tough for all of us, during these times, trying to keep ourselves busy. However, there's one event that is coming up that no one should miss the opportunity to watch. It is The Last Dance, Michael Jordan, ESPN 30 for 30 doc, which releases parts 1 and 2 this Sunday, April 19th. It deeply details Michael Jordan's last title run with the 97-98 Chicago Bulls, the world's most beloved team of the 90s. So, Casey, in honor of this momentous feature release regarding the legacy of Jordan, what player and team were the most affected by the Bulls and Jordan's dominance? And I'd love to hear it because there's so many options and you can't go wrong with any, but I'm still going to make fun of you either way.
Well, Rocco, you said 97-98, correct?
I did.
Who did the Bulls end up playing in the finals that year?
They ended up playing the Utah Jazz.
And there are 2 Hall of Famers on that team, so you have a 50-50 shot about who it is. I'm just going to tell you anyway. Skip the guessing part. Karl Malone. In my opinion, he's probably the better of the two between him and John Stockton. Obviously, they're both great players for different reasons. But the Jazz, 96-97 and 97-98, 64 wins and 62 wins, leading the Western Conference, and they got denied twice by Michael Jordan. Malone, 2-time MVP. One of them was in the 96-97 season. I know the documentary, he's only about, like you said, 97-98, but this is the whole scope of the Bulls in the 90s. So during that 96-97 season, Malone averaging 27.4 points per game and nearly 10 rebounds. And obviously that's not even the tip of the spear of his stats. He had 3 consecutive seasons in the early 90s where he had 29 points per game or more consecutively. Obviously the 2 seasons that I was focusing on with him in the finals, 27.4 and 27 points per game. Obviously it's a big number, especially on a team with John Stockton, who all-time assist leader, always going to be passing the rock, and always going to be a great contributor, allowing Karl Malone to thrive. So with him being an all-time great, 14-time All-Star, you got to imagine that he would have won something, and pretty much Michael Jordan and the Bulls is why he didn't win any championship or to note of. Was 2-time MVP, like I said, 4-time All-Defense, but still missing that ring.
Casey, you brought up a lot of, again, a lot of great points. And Stockton, Malone, and the Jazz, they'd be my number 2. No doubt about it. They'd be my number 2. And that's a good one. I like it. Again, Stockton, Malone, one of the best duos to grace the game ever, had chemistry, player IQ. I get.
I'm guessing you're going to tell me now what your number 1 is?
I am, because again, you're taking the easy route on this. I mean, there is but one player that stands above the rest, because if it wasn't from Jordan and the Bulls, he'd be an NBA champion. And that's former New York Knicks center Patrick Ewing. You cannot talk about the players who suffered the most under Jordan's reign in the league without Ewing. You could talk about how it went to 7 against Houston in 94, came up short, but that doesn't account for 4 other series that the Bulls sent New York and Ewing home packing during the 90s war with Chicago. Ewing carried the city on his back during the 90s and eventually leading him back to being a contender. Those 90s Knicks Bulls series were a must-see, and the only team during that era to go to 7 games with Jordan and Bulls in a series. And I still believe Ewing is one of the greatest players of all time without a title or a ring, happening to be going to 2 finals in 99 and 94. You look at his skills, his abilities, big man, had a jump shot, and what he meant to New York as their cornerstone in the 90s, nothing else like it. That's why I got to go with Patrick Ewing. He's a number 1. He has to be the number 1.
But still, that means that Ewing and the Knicks were able to figure out a way to stop Jordan and his team at least once, and there was only one sweep where the Bulls swept the Knicks. The Jazz were not so fortunate in dealing with that. And plus, you can't forget about how 97-98 is when the Bulls won, and who made it to the NBA Finals in 99, obviously, the Knicks.
It was Knicks against the Spurs.
Yes, and Ewing wasn't on the finals roster because he was injured, but he was still a big part of that, ended up helping the team get to the semifinals against Indiana. So in that series when he was injured, but Ewing was still a great player, yes, and obviously a great player without a ring because of Jordan and others, but there's other reasons that he didn't have a ring, I would say. And if the Knicks without him can't beat, well, at the time it was an unproven San Antonio Spurs, then without him at least, they probably would have honestly beat him with him. Then I don't know if you can say Ewing was the best player robbed by the Jordan era and not Karl Malone.
Casey, again, I'm not going to be surprised with this. again, you're wrong because, like, you have to take into account to what Patrick Ewing did. I mean, again, Casey, you saw, I mean, I know a history nut. I mean, I know you definitely saw those 90 wars, those 90 series against the Bulls. It was tough. It was gritty. It was the old school NBA. It was tough. It was gritty. They allowed hard fouls, not in today's era where LeBron just flops on the floor and, cries to the rest, and then he gets a foul, goes to the free throw line and wins the game, for the Los Angeles Lakers. It doesn't happen like that anymore. It didn't happen back then, but it happens now. Again, different era. But again, Patrick Ewing, he is the most robbed player of all time. He would have, first of all, 94. Jordan leaves the league, retires because of his father and all, off-court situation, leaves.
Or plays some baseball.
Right. He left Scottie Pippen to basically defend himself in the dark against the Wolves, against the Eastern Conference, which was at that time, which you can't believe. Right now, the Western Conference is the juggernaut.
Eastern Conference in the 80s and 90s was basically.
Eastern Conference in the 80s and 90s were no joke. They were the deal. You had Reggie Miller. You had no, you didn't have Olajuwon there in the West with the Rockets. You had a bunch of them, and you had Shaq and Penny in the late 90s, doing some damage. Again, Casey, Patrick Ewing is the most robbed player. Okay, what Patrick Ewing meant for New York coming out of college, he was, he brought that city alive. Casey, that city did not experience that type of feeling since the 70s with, Frazier, DeBusschere and all of them, winning those 2 titles against the Lakers, against, the original Showtime Lakers. That was it. And again, Patrick Ewing wasn't the same player. Casey, he is a top 50 player of all time, Patrick Ewing, and he had the shin splints. He had all them problems with the knees, and he still played to a top 50 spot of all time in the NBA. So if you're going to sit here and say that Patrick Ewing was not the most robbed player that Michael Jordan ever played against and ever defeated with the Bulls, Pippen, Kerr, everybody, and you're crazy. You're crazy.
Karl Malone, though, same draft year. So they basically they were the same draft year, so they had relative experience in the other same amount of seasons.
Right, but Casey, you got
93, 94, Malone averaged 25.2. And he still had 4 more seasons, where he averaged more points than that and played up to an even higher level. I'm not saying that has to do with Jordan or whatever. I'm just saying Karl Malone was able to keep himself on the court more and able to produce at a higher level, which is why it probably, in my opinion, is perceived that he was the better player during the Jordan times.
Casey, again, no one's disputing that Karl Malone is not with Ewing with a top 50 player all the time. We're not disputing that Stockton and the Utah Jazz, we're not disputing that they weren't good. I'm disputing that Patrick Ewing was the most robbed player that Jordan went up against in the playoffs, possibly in the regular season. There was always a war with Chicago and New York. It was big time. It was prime time. But we're gonna have to see about that documentary on Sunday. It's a hyped up documentary. I think it's gonna be the best documentary since the Bad Boys one with the Detroit Pistons.
Wait.
Well, that's all we have for today. Check us out on Instagram at BMB Sports for all of our sports content, and make sure to subscribe to the BMB YouTube page to stay up to date with all of our episodes over the 3 seasons. I'm Rocco Law. He's Casey Farr on the Zoom call. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. And we're always talking sports.